Stanley. Show and Tell Flat Stanley. Stanley Lambchop lived with his mother, his father, and his little brother Arthur. Stanley was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide, and ½ an inch thick. He had been flat ever since a bulletin board fell on him. Stanley's family was used to him being flat. They didn't think much about it, except when Mrs. Lambchop needed to clean behind the fridge. Or when Mr. Lambchop forgot his house key, which happened quite a bit. To the Lambchops, Stanley was perfectly normal. That's why Stanley was surprised when Arthur asked, "Can I take you to show and tell?" Stanley frowned. "You mean because I'm so good at wiggling your ears," said Arthur. "Miss Plum really wants to see it." "Oh," said Stanley. "Sure, if Miss Plum said so." Stanley felt his face turning pink. It always turned pink when Miss Plum's name came up. Miss Plum was the prettiest teacher in the whole school. "Thanks, Stanley," said Arthur. "No problem," said Stanley. "That's what brothers are for." Arthur smiled to himself. He knew the real reason Stanley was going to show and tell, but he didn't say a word. What was the reason? Did he like Miss Plum? Did he want to see her? I think so, maybe. At school, Arthur's classmates took turns showing and telling. Sophie showed her mouse, Squeakers. "He just loves cheese," she said. Manny held up Grandpa's false teeth. "My grandpa loves cheese too." Arthur introduced Stanley, who wiggled his ears like crazy. "My goodness," said Miss Plum. "Today, I have something for show and tell too," said Miss Plum shyly. She held out her left hand. A big ring sparkled on her finger. "I'm getting married," said Miss Plum. Stanley felt his heart sink. Miss Plum? Married? The other kids jumped up and crowded around to look at Miss Plum's ring. "Let me see," said Sophie. She bumped into Manny. Squeakers slipped out of her hands. "Ouch," said Manny. "Watch it." He dropped his grandpa's teeth. The false teeth bounced twice, then clamped onto Squeaker's tail. "Squeak!" squeaked Squeakers. He took off running. That must have looked funny. A mouse running with teeth on his tail. "Oh dear," cried Miss Plum. She reached out to grab Squeakers and her new ring flew off her fingers. To Stanley, the ring seemed to move in slow motion. He watched it sail toward Squeakers and fall straight down over the mouse's head, where it landed like a sparkly collar around his neck. "Oh my goodness, that's crazy." Poor Squeakers squeaked again and ran even faster. He zipped around the classroom, scampered up a bookcase, and vanished through a crack in the ceiling tile. "My mouse!" cried Sophie. "My grandpa's teeth!" cried Manny. "My ring!" cried Miss Plum. Rings are expensive, right? What are they gonna do? Stanley stood up. "I'll save you, Miss Plum. I'll save your ring and Squeakers and the teeth." Stanley raced to the spot where Squeakers had vanished. "Arthur," he said, "that crack in the ceiling, it's like our window at home. Give me a boost." "He's flat, right? He can get in there." "Okay, let's look." "On the count of 3, said Arthur. 1, 2, 3. With a grunt, Arthur pushed Stanley high over his head, just as he had a dozen times before. Mr. Lambchop really did forget his keys a lot. Remember? He goes through the window at home a lot. Stanley slid through the crack. "I see Squeaker," Stanley yelled. "Come here, boy. Come on." Do you think the mouse will come? He's a pet mouse. Maybe he's friendly? Below, the students heard crashing and thrashing as Stanley chased the mouse over their heads. "Go, Stanley, go!" yelled Manny. "It's no use," Stanley said, panting. "He's too fast." Then Arthur thought of something. "Sophie, where's Squeaker's cheese?" "Right here," she said. Arthur grabbed a slice and flung it through the crack. "Stanley, try this." Remember, Squeakers likes cheese? Do you think it will work? The crashing stopped. The thrashing stopped. Then the class saw Stanley's arm poke through the ceiling crack. Squeaker sat in his hand, happily nibbling the cheese. Stanley's other arm poked out. The false teeth and the ring dangled from his fingers. Last of all, Stanley himself stretched out of the crack like a boy-sized strip of taffy. "Oh, Stanley," said Miss Plum, once he was safely on the ground, "you're my hero." She gave Stanley a big hug. Stanley felt his face turn pink, bright pink. "What's wrong with Stanley?" asked Sophie. Arthur grinned. "He always turns pink when..." Then Arthur stopped. He looked at Stanley. "When he's been wiggling his ears." Is that the reason? Is that why he turned pink? "Thanks," whispered Stanley. "No problem," said Arthur. "That's what brothers are for. We protect our family secrets, don't we? Because we love each other." The end.